So before we start, I would like to invite Saman Kandanarachi, the president of PMI Colombo chapter, to address the gathering. Over to you, Saman.
Thank you, Shalinka. Can you hear me? Hope I and my voice
Yes,
is
Saman.
okay.
Yes,
So
we can
thank
hear.
you for this joining for this wonderful session, and we are going to start about our 14th webinar session of the member forum. It's about a diverse perspective in women in leadership. Actually, this event we are doing in collaboration with PMI Vietnam chapter. So this collaboration with the PMI Sri Lanka chapter as well as PMI Vietnam chapter. And in this session, we have four eminent women leaders. As you can see, my Tran from Sydney, Australia, Sydney, and Nhung Nguyen Julian from President PMI chapter from Vietnam, as well as Eswari Rao from India, Bangkok chapter, and Shalinka from our own chapter representing this session. So when you're coming to this important topic, actually, if we get some statistics in 2024, women make up about 42% of global workforce and only 31% senior leaders. As well as when you're coming to the political leadership, we can see only by 2024, 28 women serves as head of state of government in 26 countries. And also, when coming to the board positions, there are in 2023, there's a statistics that 40.2% from board positions held, and it is increased from 9.5% in 2011. So when you come in, there is a still we need to address this important topic of this women leadership. So without taking much time, I will invite Dhammika to deliver the profile of our four eminent speakers and then initiate this event. So over to you, Dhammika. Thank you for joining with this session. Dhammika, over to you.
Thank you, Saman. We have altogether four panelists today. So different form of our member forum. So first, I would like to introduce Mai Tran Lee, also known as Mai. She is an award-winning certified professional and customer-focused program leader with an impressive track record of successfully delivering business and technology programs across diverse industries. With over 21 years of professional experience, Mai has navigated the intricate landscapes of retail, supply chain, and technology industries. As a seasoned expert, Mai has led critical programs across various domains, including merchandise, buying and planning, replacement and logistics, omnichannel, business intelligence, AI, and machine learning. Her ability to seamlessly orchestrate complex initiatives has earned her accolades, including the prestigious PMI Australia Project Manager of the Year Award at the inaugural national conference. She is also this year's winner of the PMI Chapter Leadership Impact Award, recognizing her extraordinary impacts to project management and local communities. Beyond her professional achievements, Mai is deeply committed to driving change and giving back to the community. Since 2010, she has volunteered with the PMI Sydney chapter, initially focusing on community outreach programs. Over the years, she has continued to volunteer in various initiatives across the chapter. In 2023, she assumed the role of the board, and she is the current Director of Volunteering and Special Projects, Project Management Day of Services, leading meaningful change and making positive impact within the project management community. She has been a strong advocate for women empowerment through driving initiatives with local groups, including Women in Project Management and Women in Agile. Mai has also volunteered as a sponsor for University of Sydney, Master of Project Management capstone student project for the last 4 years. Mai is passionate about traveling and embracing new cultures, which enriches her perspective and fuels her drive for continuous improvement, and curiosity. Next, I would like to introduce Nhung Nguyen. Julian is currently serving as the President CEO of WeldTech, Welding Technology and Equipment, focus on welding, robot automation, and precision engineering industry. She also currently serves as the President of PMI Vietnam chapter and holds PMP certification. She graduated from the London School of Economics and Political Science as a Bachelor of Science in Business Management, Marketing and Related Support Services. She has a strong background in business and marketing, experience, knowledge, and currently working in the manufacturing industry. Enthusiastic with positive mindset, charming with genuine curiosity, an empathetic listener, and a result-oriented leader. Her fields of interests are industrial organizational psychology, change management, leadership, human resource management, and waste treatments. Next, I would like to introduce Eswari Rao. She is currently the Vice President of MNC in Bangalore and has over 26 plus years of experience in the industry. She has played multiple roles and led several large projects in her career in the industry. She is also the Board of Directors for Academic Relations and Partnerships at the Project Management Institute, Bangalore, India chapter, and has been a volunteer advocating products and project management practices across the industry over 15 years, working with domestic and international partners across industry verticals like defense, manufacturing, construction, oil, and natural gas, among the others. She also is the chairperson of the Women Engagement Committee in the Asia Pacific region for PMI. Outside of her volunteer and professional work, she loves traveling, meeting people, and spending time with family and home. Next, I would like to introduce Shalinka Fernando. She's the Global Manager, PMO, Vision Fund International. She's a seasoned project management professional with extensive experience in driving strategic initiatives, optimizing processes, and delivering impactful solutions across diverse industries. Currently, serving as the Global Manager of the PMO at Vision Fund International, Shalinka leads her performing teams and oversees complex projects, ensuring alignment with organizational goals and delivering measurable results. With a strong background in developing robust project management frameworks and tools, Shalinka is passionate about leveraging technology to streamline operations and enhance efficiency. A certified PMP, Shalinka is recognized for her ability to foster cross-functional collaboration and empower teams to overcome challenges. As an advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, she is committed to championing women in leadership and creating pathways for future leaders. Shalinka's experience combined with her strategic vision and dedication to continuous improvement makes her sought after thought leader in the project management community. In today's webinar, she brings a unique perspective to the discussion on diverse perspectives, women in leadership, contributing insights from her extensive career and personal experiences. So without further delay, I'm going to hand over you. The stage is yours, ladies.
Thank you, Dhammika. Thank you so much. So, yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this team and discuss this important topic on diverse perspective women in leadership. So let's start by focusing on one of the most fundamental elements of leadership, empowering women in leadership roles, right? So we often hear that mentorship and support systems can be a game changer in shaping careers. So as for me, I have a wonderful mentor who has been instrumental in boosting my self-confidence and has helped me expand my professional network. She also introduced me to influential people and many opportunities. So mentorship has been a learning experience, enabling me to develop critical skills such as strategic thinking and effective communication. And my mentor actually coached me on how to lead cross-functional teams. And the lessons I learned have been instrumental in my current role. So she has reassured me of my strengths and encouraged me to take risks, which helped me embrace leadership opportunities. but how exactly do they influence leadership journeys? And how can organizations do better? So let's hear from our speakers. So starting with Eswari. So Eswari, how has mentorship or networking impacted your leadership journey? And could you share a specific instance where a mentor or support system helped you break barriers?
Thank you, Shalinka, and thank you, Saman, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, PMI Sri Lanka chapter and Vietnam chapter, for hosting a beautiful session like this. Morning, afternoon, evening to all of us out here. And thank you for taking time to attend this session. Shalinka, the question is really nice about mentorship and networking. I think as part of our career and life, all of us do have friends or mentors that we look up to. Specifically, in my case, I've had way more. I've had more than 3 or 4 mentors. And when I started my career way back in 1999, I was only about 19 years old, and I didn't even know what an A and B of it is, how I'm and what I'm supposed to do and start career is. The greatest mentor for me in life has been my dad, who's kind of constantly pushed me out beyond boundaries to kind of go ahead, lead from the front, talk from the front, um, break fear to kind of come up in the front, and do it. If you do it once, then you learn and fail the first time, but the second time you'll do it absolutely perfect. I think that was the first kind of lessons I got when I was like 19, 20 years old. And from then on, I don't think there has been any turn back in life, be it personally or professionally. Professionally, I've had a whole lot of mentors in my 26, 27 years career in the industry. I started off on the software industry. I didn't know how to write code. The greatest mentor was a friend I had met in a garden, just very casually, and never knew that he landed up to be the biggest mentor for me, where I was learning software and Japanese languages both together because I was working for a software firm. And then he said, "No, Ishwari, you can do it." And that can do attitude, I think, is the biggest um, one that all of us need to retain in ourselves. Everybody is born with qualities that he or she can retain and call out and use that to do whatever you do as part of your daily work, especially in mentoring and networking and in terms of leadership, right? And as chairperson of the Women Engagement Committee specifically, I have come across several instances where women leaders come to me and say that, I've had issues in talking to my manager. I've had issues in, uh, managing both professional work and managing, family. How does one multitask? I think I've gone back and mentored them very specifically to say that, never give up. It's all about bringing the best in you, working with someone whom you know, believing, trusting, open up, be very clear. Don't, a lot of people might just say something to put you down, but I think please derive strength out of everything that you network and talk to people and mentor or speak to people and interact as part of daily life. Just believe in yourself, and then keep networking, keep talking to people, so that you just overcome your fears, find solace in people whom you really believe and who believe back in you. And I think that's your first step in mentorship and networking.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ishwari. I think it was very inspiring and a great way to start our conversation. Where you said never, you should never say never, no, right? You can always do it. So, and that reminded me of one thing that my mentor said: the troubles and trials that you face are treasures. So take them as treasures, take them as opportunities, learn and just fight back. So thank you so much for that. And maybe building on that, Julian, in your view, what are some overlooked yet impactful ways organizations can support women's leadership development?
Thank you for these interesting questions. There's some of them, not some, but actually there are a lot of difficulties, not only for women, but men as well. But looking on the woman leadership point of view, I think there are three main difficulties that we need to overcome. Number one is gender bias. Number two is the work-life balance myth. I think this is a myth because for me personally, I don't believe in work-life balance. And then the pay gap. We all working based on our performance, and the pay gap differences are the thing that we try to bridge the gaps. So the impactful ways of for organizations, it could be in political, it could be in education and health, finance, energy, any kind of sectors. I believe that there are some of the ways we can try to bridge the gender differences. Like number one is for quotas. For a recent studies, the numbers of women in leadership roles, especially in Fortune 500 companies, less than 30%. It's actually about 10% only. So maybe that if with number one, with the quotas, increase the number of women in leadership roles, maybe up to 20-30%, that could help. Number two is education and career development. If there's a pipeline for women working, gaining the skill, gaining the female in the leadership levels, then if they see women in the leadership roles, then it's encouragement for them to join the higher level of leaderships. And number three is giving equal assignment, equal performance evaluation, and recognitions. Everyone wants recognitions, and if we do something right, give encouragement. If we do something wrong, fair evaluation, and that would help. And the final thing I think we can do is a support systems. A lot of women, we have, the family request, everyone have family, everyone want to have a child, and the next generation. How about a system to support, for childcare, for equal parenting? Because a lot of my friends who are male, they want to participate in raising the child, and equal parenting could be they can have more time to support their spouses. That would be great. And of course, recognition from the male dominant industry. Those were the four, I think, impactful way we can do. Number one is quota. Number second is education and career development. Number three is equal performance evaluations. And number four is support systems.
Thank you so much, Julian. I mean, those are so four impactful ways that we can actually get there, right? And I really like the subject that you touched on, the support systems, because we as women, we juggle a lot of things, right? Where it's a bit different from our male counterparts. But yeah, thank you so much for that. So we are now moving to a bit of a different section on leadership strategies across industries and other countries. So when you think of leadership, it is not a one-size-fits-all journey. So it is all shaped by industry demands, cultural contexts, and personal experience. So in this section, we'll explore how leadership strategies differ across industries and geographies. So I would like to now turn to Tran Lee. From your experiences, how does leadership styles vary across cultural or geographical contexts? Are there universal qualities that leaders should cultivate regardless of the industries?
Thank you. It's a very, very interesting question, actually. Not sure if many of you know, but I was actually born overseas. I don't sound like it. I do get told that I sound very Aussie when people meet me for the first time, but I was born in Vietnam many, many years ago now. My parents are Chinese, so even growing up as a child, I do have the mixed different culture experience. And we migrated to Australia back when I was still a little child, about 4 or 5 years old. quite different, I'll say. Like, I think over years I started to lose memories of my childhood, to be honest. And growing in Australia was very, I'll say, somewhat culture shock. In terms of where I was when I first arrived and actually got into school and not being able to speak English in school, it was quite difficult, I'll say, to even connect with the local children. As we grow, and as children, we are so adaptable, right? It make the differences of what it was before to what is now quite different. And I think just even my experience of in schooling and actually getting to know other peers who were born in Australia and actually grew up with Chinese parents, it was quite different, given how strict I guess my household was compared to theirs. But in also going back to the original question around leadership style, I'll say, based on experience of working in different countries, like in Australia, and had the opportunity to also work overseas in Asia as well over the last couple of years, you do experience the differences. And to your point, it's actually quite not just culturally based, but situational based as well. What we saw in both in study and in experience that in Australia, Australian leadership styles of many leaders, women and male, is really more focused on flexibility and being more inclusive across culture and diversity. There's more emphasis now on creating an environment that try to support a work-life balance, but it's never going to be equal, right? There's always a point in time when one aspect of your life will be more, I'll say, higher prioritized than others, other part of your life and other phase in your life or career. I think a second aspect that I've seen has always been around the diverse leadership styles of the team. So the structure of the culture within the organization actually impacts the way the leaders interact with one another and the way that you would lead a team itself. So that's more, I'll say, Australia focused. But when you compare that to other parts of the world, like my engagement in more Asia Pacific regions and some of the organization, it's very focused on community, right, and collective well-being rather than for example, in the States, where it's very individualist culture, and the focus is really on autonomy and self-motivation. And that's based also on a McKinsey report that was published just early in the year itself. But I think across all these different countries or regions, something universal that's across these differences that we can focus on really is going back to being we're all human, and the empathy and having the understanding, putting yourself in the other's shoe and sharing that understanding and feelings that you have with one another. If you're not too sure about the culture, you can ask the question. Most people are generally very open to conversation. So empathy is quite key across, regardless of what country or industry you're in. I think number two, it's being adaptable, right? We hear that a lot, in the new world, things are so disruptive, especially in industry like in supply chain tech. But regardless, you do need to adapt your leadership to the style of what that culture or the community that you're working with or engaging with. I think the third point is probably back down to being human again, the value of integrity, right? Being honest, having a strong principle behind how you lead one another would be key across regards what culture you're in, what industry that you're working through or working in or engaging in. I think those three aspects of quality would flow through across the three.
Thank you so much, Mai. I think something that really resonates with me as well, right? As leaders, I think empathy for me is key. And when I look at the leaders around, I see a lot of empathy from women leaders. So not that the other gender does not have it, but I think we are more geared towards having that empathy. So I really like what you said about empathy. and also adaptability and being honest, right? And also being ourselves in the midst of all the things that are happening in the different industries, in different countries, and different people and the cultures that we work with. Being ourselves, being honest to ourselves, and being honest to what we do is, I think, some of the key aspects of leadership. So thank you so much, Mai, for that. And now let's take a closer look at industry-specific strategies. Maybe Julian, this question is for you. So how do leadership approaches in your industry adapt to meet its unique demands?
Well, in the manufacturing industry, there are not many people. And actually, there are not many people in the leadership roles. However, in the Vietnamese cultures, it's very interesting because I can see a lot of role models, similar women working in the fields. So I believe that in order to adapt to meet industry specific demands, there are a few initiatives that I see in the industry, not only in Vietnam, but also other countries like US, UK, for examples, like Women in Welding. They have the initiative to encourage, younger girls to engage in the industry, to participate in this career path. Others could be, women in the manufacturing initiative in the UK as well. And some education encouragement fund for, for girls' education in robotics, in STEMs, in even coding and software and IT development. There are a lot of initiatives for young girls. Coming up to a higher levels, like for students or even for women. Recently, I saw a trend in changing as well, like increase payment, the hour rate for women as well. A lot of men in my field, they're encouraging women working in the factory due to, the fact that women are actually, we can operate the machines, and actually we pay more attention to detail as well. For some industry, actually they are required. And some of the factories, they ask for specifically women in the CNC field. So I think that there are a certain shift as well. Also, there are in Southeast Asia tech sector, there is a relatively strong start in terms of women representative compared with other countries. This is the studies by UNESCO, World Bank, and Department of Statistics in Singapore stated that in Southeast Asia, the number of women in higher education as well as in the women in the workforce are actually quite high. Maybe we can share this to other people as well to encourage women to join the workforce and having leadership roles.
Thank you, Julian. Yes, I think we as women should encourage each other and aspire each other, right, to get to those positions and come out more and like take these leadership positions. So thank you so much. And on leadership strategies, my final question is back to you, Mai. How do leaders in your field stay innovative while managing cross-cultural teams or addressing industry-specific challenges?
Yeah, no, innovation, I think it's key regardless of what industry that we're all working in. So my background has been quite in the technology space. So I started in IT a couple of decades ago when at the time when I joined our uni, I was the only female IT graduate at the time, and was one of 5 women in the whole IT department. So innovation when you have so male dominated, yeah, it was actually quite difficult, I'll say 20 years ago compared to what it is today. There is more, I'll say, focus now on driving innovation, especially in technology. Is though we see more women now in tech, there is actually still many many male-dominated factors within the whole tech industry, right? There's various aspects of technical components there. But we do, what I've seen a lot in various countries as well, is there is women in tech. I think it doesn't matter what country you go to, there is always a groups or organization, mostly not-for-profit or the meetup groups that actually focus women in technology and driving innovation, because that fostering the culture of continuous learning, being able to experiment, and you may fail, right? And most women, I'll say by human nature, we don't like to be failures. We like to be more perfectionists, and I think it's a little bit of backward thinking in the past, but a lot of culture still by default they don't want to be involved. So that fostering the culture is quite key, especially in the tech space, because innovation is so constant, right? Especially how quickly it is in the last decade. We all talk about blockchain and emerging technologies like AI, generative AI now. In the past, it was blockchain, I think augmented reality, like quantum computing. Those are great big, I'd say, phase of tech and trends of tech. Now we're not even there. So keeping up with it is actually quite difficult. Just to add to that, I think and I know I'm going back to Australian stats here, but early in this year, I remember reading a report here where they talk about, yes, fostering the community, but fostering also an inclusive workplace across the group, right? It's not just about women, it's just inclusivity across the workplace. So that way you can support career progression. I think you touched on this, Julian, in the earlier question around having that work-life balance doesn't really exist, and it's even more difficult for women, right? If they do need to take breaks, because they usually are the carer for the partner or the family, or if they have children, there is a break, right? So there is a stronger focus now on how do you address this and support women through career breaks. And I know with some organizations that actually, even my organization, we have a strong India-based team, right, especially in the technology space, and they do have focus on family times. They've actually built a program where it allows women to come back part-time into a similar role or even the same before they left, right, on their breaks itself. So building a community is quite key, especially in technology. You can drive the diverse thinking perception on innovation and through the collaboration, obviously. And being more inclusive in that leadership practices. I'll touch upon the second industry that I'm proud of, which is supply chain. And I think anyone who works in supply chain knows it's even more heavily dominated than tech. So I mentioned earlier that I started in IT about 21 or so years ago, and I was 1 in 5 women. I'm in supply chain right now. It is the year 2020. If I attend an event in Australia, I'll probably still be 1 in 5 women in the room. I might just be the only woman in the room in a recent event I attended. And it is very difficult, right, in this supply chain sector. One of the Gardner report, which is a research company and consulting company, they emphasize on the whole importance of having diversity, equity, inclusiveness programs, right, in creating that inclusive culture and building stronger leadership pipelines. And without that, it's very difficult for individuals to push that throughout the organization, regardless, like I said, of the different culture or different countries that you may be based in. This is quite consistent across the different regions of the world, really. So I think that strategy for innovation is key to include both DEI in the whole strategy as part of the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Mai. Thank you so much for that.
And it's so true. It's so true.
Yes. Okay. All right. So moving on to our third topic on overcoming industry-specific challenges. So we are all from different industries. So every industry presents its own set of challenges, right? When you really think of it, from technological disruptions to, as you said, supply chain issues. So overcoming these challenges often requires specific skill sets, collaboration, and diverse perspectives. So my next question is for Eswari. So what specific skill sets or mindsets have been critical to navigate challenges in your industry?
Thank you, Shalinka. And, and I completely agree to what Mai and Julian mentioned. It's been absolutely fabulous, that how evolution has brought about a change and shift in terms of not just the mindset, but also in terms of more number of women kind of outnumbering men in a number of industries. Like, you talked about supply chain and procurement. It's a very difficult and a tough place to be. But I reckon that, that capability to lead from the front and do many things which is sort of different or unique that what others would normally think of is itself a great strength in in a very progressive way, and a mindset that's so unique. And nowadays I think with the change and transform that nowadays everybody talks about re-engineering or transformation and AI, and like Mai mentioned about generative AI and so on and so forth. Specifically in the software industry that I have been, and particularly if I kind of give reference of women, more or less, if you look at the recent software industry surveys in 2024, the ratio between women workforce in the software industry and women making it to the top in the leadership roles is still kind of quite on the lower side. It is a 3:1. I think now it's more shifting towards a 4:1. Even then, the numbers are kind of quite on the lower side in terms of the diversity and talent, specifically of women being on key innovation and leadership roles, and the kind of barriers that most likely people do come across is you it's just kind of not enabling one to kind of single-handedly adapt or bring in cultural differences in kind of moving up the ladder. It's usually given that all of the it's only a certain set of people who can go up to leadership levels or get promoted in what they do. So that key competency and that change in the past recent 4 or 5 years, we have seen a change in the industry specific adaptations, the growth of mindsets, technology influence, more working opportunities for women as a whole, more working opportunities for people who have never dreamt of to kind of start a career of their own, with a whole lot of startup concept coming up, for example. So there are a whole lot of change and shift that's coming in. And whatever barriers used to exist in the past 4 or 5 years, or say 8, 10 years, is kind of slowly becoming towards a very positive trend, specifically in terms of competencies, whether it is to do with the technical proficiencies, or whether it is to do with adaptability or problem solving or responsiveness to problems, or success. The very fact of achieving success in a ever changing in a dynamic field, whether it is to do with oil and natural gas, whether it's to do with software, procurement, manufacturing, and so on and so forth. It's also about all of this put together with all the tools and the channels. I think people have built enough resiliency and the willingness to learn from setbacks. I think nowadays people have kind of it gives a lot of strength to kind of learn from our own mistakes, be resilient, and then learning from setbacks. I think that's an innate ability of women to navigate through various obstacles and come up successful. And I think building supportive relationships, whether it is to do with your manager in an organization, or whether it is to do with your friend who's kind of helping you, or whether it is to do with someone who you seek guidance, I think it's just vital for people, and women especially, to learn from all the growing trends. Keep going at what you go, keep networking, and keep that positive mindset to, if you fail in getting a promotion this year, you should not stop not trying for another promotion next year. You never know that maybe you'll be the only person who'll actually qualify. So it actually breaks barriers in terms of, people who thought probably otherwise, to convince them that, you'll probably be the only candidate out there who's the most resilient and the most qualified. So you never know. You can always break barriers and change mindset of people just on a jiffy.
Of course, thank you so much, Eswari. I think you touched upon a very important aspect of mindsets, right? And with these new trends that coming up, even we are now resilient, but also willing to fail and fail faster, right? So those mindsets and the aspects that you talked about was really very insightful. So thank you so much, Eswari, for that answer. And I know when overcoming industry-specific challenges, I know building diverse teams is also another crucial element, right? So this question is for you. So how do you approach building diverse teams that can effectively address industry-specific disruptions?
Yeah, I think, and definitely right now we are constantly being pushed with many startup, especially organization that is pushing and disrupting all our industry, to be honest. Like I feel it a lot in tech and in supply chain and retail as well. But I think of the three areas I'll say is, number one, foster the whole inclusive culture, right? Without that, it's not really possible. Obviously, there is a lot of most organizations focus on training and development. I think that's still important. We need to continue that, and we need to encourage the whole continuous learning about culture, competency, unconscious bias. I know we will touch upon that later. But I think the other part of fostering an inclusive culture is around building groups that have representation across whether it's demographics or culture or just even age, right? That sense of belonging and building the community within that organization is quite key to fostering this inclusive culture. I think the second part of it is around leadership commitment as well, right? It is difficult as an individual, but I think we can do what we can and take our step as an individual contributor, or if you're mid-level management, or especially if you're in senior management, you do have, I'll say, a level of influence, right, to commit to DEI initiatives, right? Or model the inclusive behavior. Like, I think you mentioned earlier where if you see other women leaders or inclusive leaders are behaving that way, then that would, you lead by example, right? I think if they hold themselves accountable for the diversity goals or inclusive DEI goals within the organization, that will come top down to the individuals as well. We covered mentorship already. I think that's very key to any diversity goals in organization. The third point that I was going to make is around the recruitment practices, right? The reality is that it always has to start from the beginning, right? As they enter into the organization. So when the hiring manager, so that could be at any level, right? When they're seeking the different candidates, they should be seeking the different diverse background of skills and culture, and even where the thoughts and behavior of the individual, right? It shouldn't be a specific gender, whether you're women, men, etc. They should be looking at the diverse group within the pool, regardless of what name, what gender, what age they are, to build that team, right? So you can remove your bias for your hiring process, right? If you can. Some organizations are already doing it where they don't put the candidate's name right, in the CV when they receive it. So as part of the recruitment process, it's almost they're going blind with basing on skill sets only. So that way, you are trying to remove yourself away from, oh yeah, that person was born in this country, or that person has X name. You're making certain assumptions. Your sort of unconscious bias come into play. So I think to build an inclusive recruitment practice, we need to do a little bit, be creative and innovative in how we actually bring associates into the organization. And I think when you cover all that from culture, from leadership and recruitment itself, that ties together to give you a more diverse team and build a more diverse team in the organization. Regardless of that's not excluding what industry you're in.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. No, sorry.
Okay, thank you so much, Mai. I mean, we could go on about these topics, I think, for days, but I'm a bit conscious about time, so I'm going to move on to our next section, which is the intersectionality in leadership. So leadership is actually shaped not only by our professional roles, but also by the intersectionality of our identities. So these intersections influence our leadership styles, perspectives, and how we navigate challenges. So, Ishwari, this question is for you. So, how has your identity influenced your leadership style and the way you approach challenges in your career?
Thank you, Shalinka. It's a very, very unique question, tough one, and a very easy one as well. The tougher part is that intersectionality in leadership is a very complex phenomena, is often perceived differently by different groups of people. But in personally, if I would have to put it, I would kind of do it in three parts. And the first is about the kind of background in which I was raised. Always the older of three siblings, receiving constant encouragement, whether it is from teachers, from parents, from friends. And that kind of was probably the seeds of building personal experiences, building confidence, building strength, building in the ability to tackle obstacles no matter what it is and what the job is or the piece of work is, whether it is about just going and buying a ticket to get onto a bus and go to school, or whether it is about just being completely protected and not being allowed to do a whole lot of different things. So I think I was kind of quite lucky in terms of having that unique perspectives and push right from the very beginning. And coming to on the professional side, the unique perspectives of mentored with a whole lot of professional coaches, the fighter attitude, never give up, and not every perspective is wrong. So kind of don't demean yourself. Always kind of, there's a different perspective to many things. Feel free to kind of be clear, open, and communicate with confidence so that people on the other side are able to understand what you're trying to say. And if there are differences in what is being said, then you can kind of bring out a different perspective, and kind of put forth a lot of various points, value systems, whether it is to do with being building sustainable solutions. And your solutions are kind of quite unique because those are your ideas to uh, you know say, for example, cooking recipes which are just unique to you. Maybe you just learned it, whether it is by watching movies or by watching YouTube channels or reading books. It doesn't matter. You just have a beautiful plate of vegetable on the table. So it is all about the uniqueness and perspectives that one would want to handle, specifically whether it is about decision making or interactions with others. The second thing is about reflect on your own leadership approaches, in terms of what values is something that, you would, that any given person would like to imbibe, in leadership specifically, whether it is in terms of, client focus. A lot of what we do today, everybody keeps talking of client, and the customer comes first, but it is also about trying to understand somebody's requirements, their mindsets, the business goals, and the requirements, and then kind of work through in them with the kind of challenges that you handle, and the kind of different teams that you handle, to be able to reflect on a unique leadership style, which is more very situational. Often a lot of people say that it's a very democratic, like, if you say yes, I will say yes to everything. I think it's also about dealing with situations as they come, never, and kind of learning what is called situational leadership. Break problems down into smaller pieces and then use those problems and experiences and networking to at least go one step forward in resolving those problems. And then I'm pretty sure that, everyone would find and figure out a way. Not everybody is, all of us are like unique and have our own abilities. And we've come so far as what we are today. And I think unless you kind of have that go-getter attitude, you'll not see that impact. And specifically, if I would just put in a personal example, I was leading a large telecom project in my previous company, and then somebody came back and said, Ishwari, the door is open for you. So if you can't deliver this project, you know where to go. I was so mad at the way he spoke, and the way somebody just kind of said that either you do this or you don't. And I had no clue of anything. I had no telecom background, but yet we had to build software for a telecom firm. And then I kind of learned as I kept, I didn't want to resolve all of the problems at once. I said, okay, what is the priority item? Can I plan? Can I strategize? Then can I implement? Can I test it? Can I then understand the user's perspective, market perspective? So if you break problems down into smaller pieces, that is when I understood that it was probably the most easiest way to handle a complex problem like that. And I used to sit overnight to train my team of 40 fresh graduates from college who knew nothing of telecom. And then, hey, we have this problem of probably, achieving a big milestone, but how do you do it when you know nothing? So we kind of learned through our own experiences. We kind of did a lot of workshops, went through white papers, we did prototypes, and then we did prototypes after prototypes, and then learning from real life experiences. As you build prototypes, you kind of learn about this is correct or that is not correct. And as you keep doing it, you build a lot of strategies, problem solving capabilities, growth mindset, and then you are able to understand what is your client and stakeholder needs. So as you keep delivering through that, we were able to successfully achieve a telecom project, which is very, very complex and unique, that was given to us. So I think that intersectionality in leadership is all about bringing the best in you and how much of impact you can deliver to to the industry or to the organization or to the project that you are in.
Thank you so much, Ishwari. That's for really inspiring, right? Everyone brings a perspective for a problem and just breaking it down, and then that ability that assurance that we can do anything. So thank you for that. And I'm going to turn to Julian. Julian, what advice would you give to women navigating multiple identities, such as race, ethnicity, socio-economic background in leadership roles?
Well, this is certainly a very interesting question, because with what Eswari shares and Michan, what she just shares about her background and how they grown up, with what project they've gone through, I believe that the experience the experience is actually what makes us us. That's why it's actually what makes us bring us our identities. So with all these identities, whether which race you're coming from, which industry, which countries you're coming from, it's you. And accept your identities, and then we cannot change who we are, but we can transform what we've been through, transform our obstacles, break the barriers. We can transform our pain into something else, and we can also bring our mistake into initiative of new things, so that others people will not make the same mistake anymore. Or we can, it's not what happens to you, but rather your decision to overcome it. And so I believe that my advice to women in multiple identities in any industry at all is just go for it. Just do it, and once we look back, if we succeed, that's wonderful, because that we made it. But if we can't make it, if we made a mistake, then we learn from our mistake. So I believe this is the feeling of try to be our best self, and I hope that everyone can be their best self, can have their networks, can have their people to share it with, and to have their circle of trust, so that, like, for example, with PMI or with your circle of friends or circle of mentors, so that you can share it with and learn it from. And maybe you can have your mentee as well, like maybe share your story with them. So that's my advice. Just do it and share your stories.
Thank you so much, Julian. I hope y'all can hear me. I'm sorry I got I lost y'all for a minute. And I heard the last letter part of it, just go for it. And also
Yes.
I really liked what you said, Julian, about sharing stories, right? I mean, we as women, we face the same difficulties, each and every one of us. So I think we connect well with other women. So it's always good to share stories, because we don't know whom we are going to inspire and whom we are going to change, right? So that is actually something extremely important. So thank you for sharing that, Julian. And so let's now move on to our last section, where we talk about overcoming biases and barriers. So I'm going to turn into Mai for this one. So Mai, when you look, despite progress, I know biases and stereotypes remain challenges for women in leadership. So let's now explore how we can overcome these barriers and the broader impact women are making in different fields. So my question for you, Mai, is what strategies have you employed to overcome biases, whether conscious or unconscious, in your career?
Yeah, I think I mentioned a few stories earlier, but I'll give you one more very quick one. This would have been probably about 15 years ago. It was one of my earlier projects that I was managing in supply chain. So back in the days before the whole remote working was a norm now, in the days when you're in an office, most of us think for we walk in the office in potentially a dress, a pair of heels, a blazer jacket. So so for this particular project I was involved in was commissioning a warehouse, right, a distribution center. So there was a point in the project or phase of the project where I had to go on site. to the warehouse itself. And one of these gentlemen in my team, more senior than me, actually made this comment. He's like, oh, you know, there is a uniform. Don't wear your heels. You can't wear heels. You have to wear steel cap boots because you have to wear the, you know, the nice bright, you know, fluoro vest and a helmet, right? When you're on site at construction site. Right? And I actually, you know, at that time, I was still early in my career. I just saw that, yep, okay. But, you know, thinking back right now, I should actually have spoken up, right? The reality is, just because I'm a woman in heels and a dress does not mean I'm stupid or dumb and not understand that when you're going to a construction site, obviously there's no certain health and safety, right, involved. So these are, I'll say, that's just an example of a bias there, where it's related to gender and age and just stereotype, I'll say, of what they think women working in a supply chain construction area, that they don't understand half the things that and that was one of the examples where I was in a steering committee where I was the only female on the table having this conversation with other men in the room. So supply chain obviously has evolved quite a bit, but bias like that still exists, whether you're in technology, supply chain constructions, AI space as well. But I think it can come from various angles. So I think some of the strategy that works well for me is, one, I think reflect on it, right, before, especially in certain situations that you don't want to jump to conclusion. It's a little bit of empathy and self-reflection and self-awareness of the situation, right? Whether that be a culture related or a just individual related. I think having that, take that time to reflect on that and understand what's happening before you make the next step, right? Sometimes it's difficult, I know, like if they trigger something in you and you just want to fight.
Mon ơi.
Sorry, there's an echo. Can you guys hear it?
Yeah, just a little bit. It's all right. Now it's all right.
Okay, it's okay.
All right. Yeah, no, it's good.
Okay, cool. Okay, the second strategy I'll say is the support network you just mentioned, right, in the earlier. You definitely need to have that strong support network build. That will help build your resilience in you, as well as having a circle of trusted, friends or peers who are in the same industry as you or have face similar challenges, but they don't necessarily have to be a mentor, right? Sometimes you don't feel that comfortable, especially you're starting a formal mentorship relationship, but building a strong network around you help build the resilience in you as an individual. And the third point, which I mentioned a bit earlier, was around just go and speak up, right? Sometimes it is when you've been in the industry long enough, you know the situation is what it is. And unfortunately, even though we're in the year 2024, sometimes things like this still happen. So I think to get through it, you do need to step up and speak up in those situations. Did we lose people?
Shalinka? Shalinka is there. I think there's she mentioned there's a small interrupt in her connection.
I think so.
Okay.
I can continue talking.
Yes, no, it's okay.
I can continue giving example. I thought I didn't want to use up too much time because it might be. So yeah, so to what I was saying earlier, look, you do need to speak up, especially don't be afraid of it. Like in early in my career, that was something I was concerned about, being young, naive. I think just, being able to be assertive at those moments is quite critical.
Let me check from Shalinka, get the message. Yeah.
I actually enjoy this topic so much, me too. My mission worry to join today. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, maybe we should have another session with us, Julian. Fine. So sorry, I think I'm back, and we are almost at the end of discussion, but we do have a session for Q&A. So we'll just look at our last section, and where we spoke about bias and barriers. And one more question for you, Mai, till we let you go. So how can women leaders change stereotypes and create pathways for others to follow? That's my last question for you.
I think I touched slightly on it just earlier while we were trying to get you back online around stereotype, right? The reality is that as you go through, everyone has those unconscious bias, and stereotypes comes from upbringing and the community itself, right, socially. So I think one of the key aspects is make sure there is strong leading by example, having strong role model, right? That visibility of the strong role model in your life, in your career, whether that be, those in your industry, in the field, or even, it could be your mentor, like your mother. It has always been my father and mother, so it's always been a role model for me growing up. And I think you just need to be able to challenge that. In the industry, I think we see a lot in our industry where there is actually many more female leaders that's become CEO now. Like even, I think Chanel is led by Lena, right? Like a female CEO for the last few years. Major, obviously organization, globally known. I remember reading an article about Helen Wang. She's the first female CEO for Singapore Bank, right? We've never really seen that in the past. So I think we just need to have the role model, but challenge the norm, right? Because if we don't challenge it, like I said, people just sort of expect that women can't do what men do. They can't actually run major transformation programs. They can't run large organizations because they've never really seen women in the field as much as male do in certain male-dominated industry, right? So I think we do need to actively challenge a stereotype on these roles that is not traditionally led by women in these industry.
Thank you so much, Mai. So we are at the end of our discussion, but I would like to ask all of you this question. So it's about women leaders, aspiring women leaders, and what key message would you give to women looking into step into leadership roles, especially in male dominant fields? So any last advice from each of you? Maybe since you are on my screen, maybe you could go first.
I'll say, I like to end with 3, right? Like, so I think 1 is all about you. So building that self-belief and confidence is key. Leveraging your unique strength. I think we touched upon it early on. It's that, we each have our own, we come from certain experience, upbringing, just experience in the field. Leverage those strengths that we had. It's unique and it's going to be different for each of us. And number 3, I mentioned, build that strong support network because you definitely need it. We'll always go through up and down. Trying to survive the world of life by yourself is very difficult. So I think, leadership is more, this was a quote I think I mentioned to someone the other day, actually, to one of my mentee. It was from the former COO of Meta platform. She said, leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that that impact lasts in your absence. So Sheryl Sandberg. I was trying to think of the name well. No, thank you. Thank you for today's session.
Thanks, Mai. So my question again to you, Julian. What key message would you give for aspiring women leaders?
Well, I think that one of the advice I already gave them earlier is that just do it, really go for it, because you must say that you want this or you want that, you want this position or you want a certain position. If you cannot express yourself, then how come people know about your intention and your capabilities? Just shout out for your ambitions, and shout out for what you can do. And also, is one of the things is that I believe is that masculinity and femininity will always, exist together. So in the long term, in order to be, to sustain in any fields, perhaps you just, be true to yourself and whether in any industry, you can be feminine, but you can also, achieve a certain level of leadership skill, high competency, like high technology abilities. You can be woman and still very strong in technology, and still very strong in, like logistics knowledge and experience. All these we can do. So with a can-do attitudes, learn, be an expertise in your fields, not because you are a woman, but because you can do it. And then, just show your abilities, and people will recognize it. Your
Wow.
yeah. So
Powerful. Thank you. Thank you, Julian. And lastly, Eswari, what would be your key message for aspiring women leaders?
I think it's more about what Julian and I already covered, right? It's like embrace your own perspective. Each one of us are, like I said, are unique, and that's the greatest asset probably in leadership. And never shy away from sharing your ideas and thoughts, because you never know, someday it might just bring a fresh solution onto the table, and things might just work your way. The more you just kind of stop or kind of push yourself back, uh, you might probably overlook some some nuances and some skills that you already have. It's just that they're not coming out. And the other thing is about surround yourself with people who believe in you, your mentors, your friends, your allies, uh, and always go out there, provide guidance, seek guidance while navigating challenges. Never succumb or cease to opportunities in your career. Just go for it. Do it, and don't think so much about it. Don't and
overthink.
never brood about stuff.
Think about
It's about being confident and assertive in your abilities, and
Yeah.
you will never feel outnumbered. You'll always be like, I'm the best, because everybody's voice matters, and you have every right to be heard and respected. So that is the biggest thing, that you need to believe in yourself, and stay assertive in your abilities.
Thank you so much, Eswari, and thank you so much, Julian, and such inspire. I mean, I am really inspired, and I don't want it to end, but I know we have only 10 more minutes to go. And I'll just open this session for Q&A. I've just checked the chat. We don't have any questions. So if there are any, just post it on the chat. Or maybe if you feel like it, just unmute yourself and do ask it from any one of us.
I was wondering if any of the participants have any female role models in their life or in their fields. No, because actually I have a lot of male role models, but like
Yeah, that's
yes, for female role model, do you have any female role model in your life or in your fields? Any participants and even the members as well? Anyone?
Yeah, I think female role models are like, I kind of have a current manager who's extremely supportive, and probably knows me more than what I know myself. Even I keep telling myself that, how can you know me more than what I know myself? So sometimes mentorship.
Hello. Yeah. Sorry. That role model, I have one in my office, and in the previous one situation
All right.
is she's from supply chain side, and so actually take risk And resilient, one of two important characteristics I noted from her, resilient and taking the risk. So when coming to that, sometimes not hesitate to talk directly what she want to tell in the meeting. So that's one side. So I have one question to put to the panel. Is it okay? So there's a statistic that in global statistic that women workforce in 2023 is coming to 41%. But when you're coming to the senior leadership position, that has been decreased to 32%. So my question to the panel, anyone can answer. So initially they come to the workforce, but when you're going to the top of the ladder, some they give up. So maybe one or two important points you can stress out if you want to go to the higher ladder. I mean the board of directors or top leadership positions. What kind of characteristics or the things you need to develop? Anyone can, I think, comfortable can answer this question. I think you also might in your stage life come across that they want to give up it up, but you somehow bounce back and come to this position, maybe higher level. So what is your advice or give your experience perspective, one or two, 3 points?
I'll try and I'll make a start and jump in to the other panelists as well. I think one of your question was, what type of skills should you develop, or if you're at that point in your career, right? And sometimes like the opportunity needs to be there, right? That's number one. But in terms of number two, the skill set, I think you still definitely need one to build a strategic skill, regardless of whichever you're going to mid-level or to top level. That ability to understand the organization and develop that strategy, strategic skills on how the vision needs to hold for the organization, whether that will be on the executive general manager or a C-suite level or even a board of directors level, right? Those that is required for all seniority in organization, regardless of the industry you're in. I think number two, second skill would be resilience, right? We talked about it a bit earlier. That's required definitely, because the reality is that when you're at that certain level, you do hit a sort of a little bit of glass ceiling. We haven't spoke about it in today's call, we don't have time, but there is going to be that moment that you want to break that barrier, but there's a point, right, in that organization. Sometimes you just can't get past it, right? The opportunity may come and they want a specific skills and they feel like you don't have it, despite you voicing it out, being assertive, etc. You may need to rethink, right, and look at what other role is available that might actually give you whatever skills that they're looking for. So it might mean you have to take a side step before you move up. Right? It is challenging, and the statistic is the same here in Australia and some other parts of Asia as well. Because I looked at this statistic number of women in board of director roles, like in organizations, saying it's getting better, but it's nothing nowhere.
Yeah.
The gender, gender equity between the two. Sorry, Julian, were you talking? Apologies.
I totally agree with you. I mean, with any man or woman, if we want to be in a higher position, of course, skill set is a must. And yes, as Sherman pointed out, female representative decrease as leadership levels rises. So maybe women, we need to have more ambitions, I believe so, like but if you don't want to be the leadership roles, then who else can give you that? No one can give you that positions. I believe we have some question in the chat box as well, and this is a very interesting one. Maybe you want to address us here as well. Two actually. What's the best networking advice that panelists can give for young women leaders? Well, because actually networking actually helps in any industry.
In terms of networking advice, I'll say look for actually I don't Sachini, I guess what industry you're in. Every industry would have the various, I'll say, organizations that put together, events such as these webinars, but or in-person event, right? Depending on what industry you are. So if you're looking to focus to progress your career into project manager or into a manager or some sort of career path, and you're not too sure, I think for those industry where you do want to experience sort of diverse skill set, right, and develop those skill set, go to those sort of industry events, and that is an easy way to network and to, I'll say, break the ice. If you just need to say hello. Most people in the industry are very open to saying hello. How are you? And even just ask them what made you want to attend this event. Just very simple question like that will get the conversation going and get the networks going.
Yeah, I know there's another question from Tiranya. As I understand, in practical life, especially in our part of the world, work-family balance is an issue that many women face, So I think it's also about opportunities, and sometimes it also needs a policy change. I think you touched upon earlier in terms of having a very inclusive and diverse culture, and working framework. So it's also about organizations to adopt working practices that are more conducive for women to grow onto the top of the ladder, provide opportunities for them, and probably not be as rigid, and also about enabling, giving that responsibility early into the life cycle of problems so that people kind of learn from their experiences. So when people take on very senior roles in the organizations, they are actually ready with a lot of live experiences before, and there's constant coaching and nurturing and trainings that are available in the organizations nowadays, and across social media, and technology is kind of closer to everybody right now. One should make use of that and kind of never feel that you cannot go. And especially when you have a family, and I have a family and I travel 40 kilometers to work every day, and every time I return late and I kind of feel very sad that I haven't probably made dinner on time, people are waiting for me. I think it's about managing time, prioritizing what is first. Take one day at a time. Just plan for today. Don't just take everything all at one time, because then you get very stressed. Just handle one day at a time, one problem at a time, one issue at a time, and I'm pretty sure you'll kind of come out very successful, whether it is in terms of managing family or whether it is in terms of managing it work professionally and then moving up the ladder.
Yeah, I think it's so true. Eswari, I believe it's all about time management.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much. Any more questions? I think your team and the team, all four members show the resilience, because Shalinka mentioned me, asked me to do the Q&A session, but my Tran and Julian checked the chat, and they get themselves into the questions and answers. So we'll thank you for this resilience and understanding. So now we are coming to the end of the session. So let me share, actually, as a customary honor, we are doing sharing e-certification for appreciation for participation for our resource panel. First one, I would like to thank especially my Tran for this commitment and support and dedication for this session. And actually, I met her during Asia Pacific LIM, and we get networking, and then we met again in, I think, a global summit. And thank you for the support and networking with us. sharing your thoughts and experience. And again, coming to the Julian, actually, PMI Vietnam chapter is co-host or supporting this event. And I had a discussion after with my Tranly, and then to get more participation and the diversity to include this session. And thank you for Julian for supporting and contributing for this session and giving more opportunity and sharing your knowledge with us. And then again, Eswari, you are the Region 11 Women in Engagement chairperson. So this, I can remember certain things we had discussed Region 11 meeting. So with that, I had the idea to have this session before the end of the year with the PMI chapter to do a women engagement session. So with that, today we conclude that, I think, our idea. So thank you, Eswari Rao, for Roy to sharing your thoughts and your commitment and your lesson learned in your life with us for our future, our next generation of the women leaders. And last, I want to thank Shalinka. Even though she's not in Sri Lanka right now, she's from, I think, Tasmania, or she's in a job in out of country. So from that, she joined with us and she committed. And thank you for her commitment and preparation and her ideas and doing this event successfully. So I would like to thank all of you for women leaders. Thank you very much for giving your thoughts and supporting to this event. And I also thank participants and our directors, as well as PMI Vietnam chapter directors and their participation. They also shared the event through LinkedIn and the social media, their commitment. So everyone, thank you so much for making this event successful. So before wind up, I would like to request if you are okay only, please on your camera so that we can have a group photo or group event or something like that. You are okay, only we can have a, you can open your, yes, let me, Shalinka, you can take screenshot from your end if you are okay. I will take few.
Sure.
Give me a second. Okay, thank you so much. So I wish you all a pleasant evening. Actually, I would like to thank my maternal. I think her time is passing night. A great commitment from Australia time is now midnight past. So good sleep. Thank you, my friendlies, for your commitment and support. So others have a pleasant night. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Have a
so
great
much.
For the weekend.
Thank you,
Bye.
Julian.
By the
Everyone.
way, don't forget this is a Thanksgiving day today. So thank everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Can't wait to
Yes.
see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
hopefully soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Saman, for leading this.
Thank you. We'll meet up. Thank you.
See you next time.